Hello everyone.
Now in this episode we're going to be talking about our multi-fuel stove.
When we bought the boat, the previous owners had installed an Aarrow Ecoburn 7 multi-fuel stove. The stove was installed on the boat from new. It's obviously served its previous owners well over the years. It's now though, after 12 or 13 years, looking a bit tired, in need of updating.
And as Journey with John O spotted, we've been using a socket wrench to open the front door instead of a handle.
So let's see if we can't bring it up to date and give it a new lease of life.
Here we go.
We were initially just going to replace the worn handle with a new one, but one evening I was filling the stove with coal, and in flinging the coal into the stove there was a clang, and the faceplate at the back of the stove actually fell off. Over the years, the lugs that hold it in place had obviously been broken, and it was really just held in place with fire cement, which is, I guess, why it was easy enough to dislodge when I put the coal on. So we realised this was far more serious and it's going to need some attention. Obviously the stove wasn't safe in its present state, and we began to consider our next move. Initially, because of the issues that had come to light in addition to the missing handle, we did consider replacing the stove completely. We did do some shopping around with that in mind. However, we decided it would be more satisfying, well, and cheaper, to repair the existing one. While we were ordering the handle and the faceplate, we decided at the same time to order replacement fire bricks that line the stove, and also a new collar for the top of the stove, as the present one was cracked and really did need replacing. All the replacement parts arrived the next day, so we got to work.
So here you see me taking out the retaining bars at the front. We realised that we've got to get these out, otherwise we wouldn't be able to get the fire bricks out from behind, and we wouldn't be able to clean it all.
The replacement faceplate was supplied with its own self-adhesive fire rope, which was ideal because it ensured a really good seal when we had attached it and twisted it into place on the back of the stove. With the new faceplate in place, it was time to tackle removing and replacing the fire bricks. The new fire bricks did not slot into place perfectly for us the first time. After having them in and out a few times and in a couple of different orders, we decided that they needed a little bit of modification to get them to work for us. We used the only saw that we had on board to remove a corner here and take out a section there, and with just these few minor changes, we found that they then fitted perfectly for us. With the replacement of the metal throat plate that we'd taken out earlier on, the work inside the stove was done, and things were beginning to look a lot neater and tidier. We decided to replace the fire rope on the main door of the stove. It's a job that's best done when the door's laying flat. It makes it a lot easier to get the rope to stick to the door. We got a great tip from the chandlery that sold us the fire rope. When you cut the rope, it's got a tendency to fray quite quickly and become untidy, and all it takes is a little bit of sellotape to hold to wrap round the rope before you cut it. It leaves everything much neater, makes it easier to glue the rope to the door, and the sellotape itself will burn away quite quickly within the first use or two of the stove. So very valuable tip there. With the stove rope cut, it was time to apply the stove rope glue to the door. There's a little channel that runs around the just inside the outside of the door where the rope sits, and give a generous coating of glue to that area. We know from past experience that if you skimp on this, the rope has a tendency to start to fall away from the door fairly quickly. So we wanted to make sure it stays put for longer this time. Replacing the stove collar and installing the new flue was not a job we felt like tackling ourselves, so we used a qualified engineer to do this job for us. Very neat and tidy, and very pleased with it. And all that we'll need to do now is give the whole stove and the flue a good coating with stove blacking to have the whole thing looking good as new.